Live in Western Oregon, this is NBC 16 News at 5.
We're following the aftermath of weekend protests that turned to riots, leaving behind property damage and vandalism in downtown Eugene. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Jacqueline Mazer. Now, just this morning, Eugene Mayor Lucy Vinis, Police Chief Chris Skinner, and City Councilor Greg Evans spoke about what happened. They all say this violent behavior will not be tolerated. Our reporter Lauren Negretti has been following the story since the weekend. Now, Lauren, how do city leaders plan to address the violence?
Well, Jacqueline, officials say it was a smaller group of about 75 to 100 that broke off from that original Black Lives Matter movement. Now, these rioters left behind a string of vandalism in their wake. Mayor Vinis says the need for reform and action is real, but says the violent actions are unacceptable. She added the counter-protesters, including the man arrested for shooting his gun in the middle of an event Saturday, create a volatile situation. She says they are embracing the work to address police reform and systematic racism.
There's always a small group of people that don't want to engage in that work. They don't want to engage in that partnership and collaboration and problem solving. They're more interested in making a statement and doing it with destruction. And so they're not going to deter us from the good work that we can do together.
Vinis says that smaller group of rioters unaffiliated with that larger demonstration took advantage of a peaceful protest to incite violence. Well, coming up, we'll have more with Police Chief Skinner, further addressing their tactics over the weekend and what's to come. Jacqueline?
All right, Lauren, thanks for that report. Well, Homeland Security is reportedly considering sending another 150 federal agents to Portland. The Associated Press says an unnamed official confirmed to them 50 Customs and Border Protection agents could be headed here. Well, the Washington Post is reporting 100 deputy U.S. Marshals might be on their way. While many protesters believe it's the agents who are escalating the situation, today an assistant U.S. attorney shares his thoughts tonight.
There's no doubt that the rallying cry has been that because federal officers have come into the building to try to protect it, that this building is now a target. So it's a proxy for anti-government protesters who simply believe that they shouldn't be here.
Federal agents say they arrested 25 people on charges ranging from assault to resisting arrest over the weekend. Meanwhile, there's a lot of garbage and debris, things like burned cardboard boxes, water bottles, cans of paint, and fireworks behind the fence surrounding the federal courthouse. Most of the debris is on the sidewalk. The courthouse building itself has some graffiti painted on its facade. Well, within the last few hours, Senate Republicans released the HEALS Act. HEALS stands for Health, Economic Assistance, Liability Protections in Schools. Senator McConnell says within the proposal, Americans will receive another round of direct checks for the same amount as the previous relief bill, with more support for families taking care of vulnerable dependent adults. Senate Republicans, though, are also moving to cut the weekly $600 unemployment bonus down to $200 per week. The bill would also set aside $190 billion for Paycheck Protection Program loans. Well, a historic day for the U.S. For the first time, Phase 3 coronavirus vaccine trials are now underway. 30,000 Americans are expected to volunteer for Moderna's clinical trials of a possible vaccine. Thousands of volunteers will either be injected with the possible vaccine or a placebo. Then scientists will closely track which group experiences more infections as they go about their daily lives. Moderna is planning to produce 500 million doses of the vaccine per year, with the possibility of making 1 billion doses annually starting next year. The company hopes to find out whether its vaccine is approved by the FDA either late this year or early next year.
I would like the governor to make the decision for everybody. I think that would ease a lot of stress and worry.
Parents and teachers went to the state capitol today to push the governor to make a decision about the upcoming school year. Teachers recently formed the Oregon Safe Return to Schools group. About 9,000 people joined on Facebook. Organizers don't want students and staff to return to schools unless new COVID-19 cases stop for 14 days. The Oregon Department of Education and the Oregon Health Authority have created safety guidelines for schools. Districts must submit their plans for review in mid-August. The school systems need to prepare for 3 scenarios: in-person education, distance learning, or a hybrid model. Taking a look at the latest pandemic numbers reported in Oregon today, there are 340 new confirmed and presumptive cases, and thankfully no new deaths to report. Oregon surpassed the 17,000 mark in cases and has 289 deaths. And as a reminder, testing is available for frontline workers this week in Eugene. On Wednesday, there will be free testing for grocery store workers, gas station attendants, retail workers, bus drivers, and others at the Lane Event Center. Testing starts at 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. at the Fairgrounds parking lot. Lane County Public Health is asking people to bring their insurance cards. Tests are free, regardless of insurance status.
Well, good evening. We are in for a heat advisory today, and it's not in effect until later on. As we move into this evening, 9 p.m. is that last chance we'll get this 90-degree temperatures, but we'll stay relatively warm for the next couple of days. Right now, Western Oregon has a high-pressure system moving on in. A little bit of moisture east of the Cascades, which means we do have some potentials for lightning east of the mountainside. Now today, again, very warm. Yesterday, we reached 100-degree temperatures, 90s here in Eugene, drying us out very much, which is not great considering it is fire season. We're increasing our potentials moving on into this evening and for the next couple of days, while those out in Lynn and Lane on the moderate side, but we do have chances to cool down. Today will be in the 90s, well above average, especially for those in the Umpqua Valley. Perhaps another chance to reach 100-degree temperatures, but we do have a cool down just around the corner. I'll let you know all those details, Jacqueline, in my full weather forecast.
All right, Heather, sounds great. Thank you. Well, the West Eugene computer chip factory wants to make a comeback sometime in early 2021. Video display and digital signage maker StrataCache is the new owner of the former Hynix facility that shut down and closed 12 years ago. The Ohio-based tech company bought the 200-acre property in March for just over $6 million. After minor changes to the plant, StrataCache plans to start a pilot line of products next summer.
I think across the state in advanced manufacturing, we're seeing double-digit unemployment. So job creation at that magnitude would certainly be welcome.
Company CEO Chris Regal says he plans to make what are called micro LEDs at the Eugene plant. He expects to hire about 100 people during the pilot run next summer, with hundreds more after that. Well, scientists are now teaming up to use big data to address major challenges across the Pacific Northwest, like earthquake preparedness, cyber attacks, and improving environmental health. It's all part of a $1.4 million grant from the National Science Foundation. Oregon State University researcher Brett Tyler says the project will help bring different aspects of big data together to solve problems.
This is going to help our researchers and our next generation researchers and teachers to get up to speed in this area.
The giant research project will include Oregon's 3 largest universities, as well as others in southern Washington. Tyler says it will also look to teach other scientists and instructors in the area, as well as students. Now ahead at 5:30, a dive into the kind of work that could help with earthquakes and even cyber attacks. And coming up next on NBC 16 at 5, Congressman John Lewis's body is now lying in state at the U.S. Capitol. How lawmakers are remembering him today. Plus, Hurricane Douglas moves away from Hawaii after a very close call. How residents are breathing a sigh of relief tonight.